So looking back on all the achievements throughout your film career, controversial question, what would be your favorite movie and what would be your least favorite movie?
Well, I have that special place in my heart for The Perfect Weapon. I know that sounds bizarre because I just got through telling you I've never watched it since it came out, but now you know why. But it is such a special moment in my life that it just can't be compared to anything else. I have it sort of locked away in a special little compartment in my heart, and I protect it, and it's safe and secure there, and I feel great about it. It's a source of empowerment for me. I know how happy I made Ed Parker, my teacher. I know how much he wanted to do that. In fact, excuse me, several people who knew him for decades longer than I did all said pretty much the same thing, which is the only time they have seen him as happy when we were doing The Perfect Weapon is during the birth of his five children. That's how happy he was that we were doing this. And when you throw on the layer of he went back to Hawaii, where he was from, to see his mother, and as soon as he stepped on Hawaiian soil, that was it. He died right there at the airport, actually. So there's an inference there that if he had done everything he wanted to do in his life, and these are big things, what he did, huge things. And the only thing left that he wanted was to do a movie the way he wanted it done with a big company. There it was. You're not going to get any better than Perfect Weapon. And it was almost like he went, okay, that was the last one. I got it. And now I'm moving on to whatever it is that's next. So, I mean, as tragic and sad and painful as all of that was, there's something beautiful about it that allows me at least to let that go. When you have the death of a loved one, and I loved him and he loved me, and we knew it, and we told each other that all the time. The same with Lou Angel, the guy that taught me Japanese Goju. He just transitioned to the other side a couple of years ago. But and all my students around the world, my black belts who've been with me all this time, they all know that I love them, and I know that they love me because we tell each other. We're not afraid of that. And it's actually, it started with karate, but it isn't that anymore. It's about the love and friendship and respect we have for one another. And then the karate is a distant second. We're pretty good at the kempo that we do, but it's nowhere near as important as the love and friendship that we all share with one another. I was married 4 years ago. Oh, sorry, 5 years ago in France, just outside of Paris, in a place called Rouen, Rouen. This gorgeous cathedral, one of the top 10 in all of Europe. And so my wife and I said, okay, what the heck? Let's invite all the school owners from all 21 countries because they're family. Well, 80 people showed up from all over the world. We had no idea. but the point is, that's how close we are as a family, as a group. People came from New Zealand and Australia, and of course all over Europe, and from the United States and from Mexico and from everywhere, just to be together to share this time and of love and friendship. And that really is who and what we are.
That's such an amazing bond to have, isn't it?
Oh, it is so fulfilling. I tell them all the time, this is how I'm going to live out the rest of my life. In this world, this utopian society that we have co-created called the 50 family. I'm instrumental in it, but I didn't create it. We created it together. And this is how I want to live. And it's a wonderful, wonderful feeling that you have that much love. I mean, think about that. I mean, many of these people, English isn't their first language,
Yeah.
and so many diverse cultures and differences and all that. It doesn't matter. We stripped away all of those walls of illusion that separate everybody else, religion, government, race, sexual preference, sexual identity, age. None of those things matter. The only thing that really matters is the content of your character. And you show that every day with how you treat the other members of your 50 family. And we all know that. And we get it. We're in this together. We've decided this is how we want to go through the rest of our life. And when it's time for me to transition to the other side, it, of course, is set up to go on without me after I'm dead. Now, whether it does or not, I don't know. That's up to them. You know, I won't be here anymore. So you guys want to screw this up, go ahead and do it. But until I die, we're going to do it exactly this way. And it's going to be lead with love and friendship, and the karate comes second.
I have to ask because I know there's some fans out there that would completely annihilate me for not asking this question. So,
Well, then by all means.
what was it like working with, as the fans will know, Star Trek's favorite, but as I know him, Michael Myers is faced, William Shatner?
Yeah, he was, as I mentioned earlier, a terrific person. And I had no idea what to expect. And he showed up, and right from the beginning, okay, day one, they do a thing in the movie business called a read through. All of the actors are sitting around a big table, and they all have their script. And there's the producer and the director and somebody keeping time and making notes, and you do a read through. You're not acting, you're just reading everything through, more for timing. And that was the first day I met him. And from that day forward, he was a very gracious and kind, a guy of his stature could easily take his plate of lunch and have it delivered to him in his trailer. Most of them do. But he didn't do that. He sat out on the tables with all of us, with the stuntmen and the cameramen and the other actors, just hanging out. And when he wasn't acting in his scene, instead of staying in his trailer, he was out on the movie set with us, sitting there watching everybody do their thing, talking, being a good guy. And I was just blown away by what a good guy. Now, a few times, very few, in the years after that, I would be in LA, Hollywood, and I'd go into a restaurant and he would be there, right? And I would walk up to him and I'd say, "Hey, Bill, I'm not sure you remember me. I'm Jeff Speakman. We did a movie." He was like, "Oh, Jeff, my God," stand up and hug me and "How have you been? And it's so good to see you." And, you don't expect that, right?
Yeah,
Not from a guy like him, but he is as genuine and wonderful as a person you would ever meet.
that's amazing, isn't it? You always
It
think
is
people like that wouldn't be as humble.
exactly, but he is, and that makes it even more powerful. You know, we have got to learn that the money and the fame and all of that stuff isn't important. It isn't. We all have to have enough money to get by and get along and pay our bills, and yes, but when you start thinking that the money and the car you drive and the house you live in and the zip code you live in is important, that's when the problems come. It
Yeah,
isn't important. It is not. It's great to have a nice car and live in a nice house, but that doesn't define who you are. What defines who you are is your heart and the depth of the emotion that you have, that you can love other people and care about other people and have them care about you. I wish for everybody, and including everybody who would be within earshot of this discussion, that they could experience the kind of love I have with my wife, Kim. I'm so fortunate that I have been able to experience that in this life. And I wish that for everybody else, because that kind of love and commitment is the best of what it is to be human.
yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like having the love of your wife and your family, really, it's all you need.
So yeah, it's a beautiful thing. When you get it right, it's beautiful. When you don't get it right, it ain't so hot.
It costs you a fortune.
Costs you a fortune. Yes, I have my diploma to the human race, which is a divorce decree. I've, I've been married. I've been there, done that.
two more movies I want to ask you about. The first one being Memorial Day. What
Yes.
attracted you to it?
In Memorial Day is a really good example of what does attract me, and I think a lot of actors, to different work. It does, of course, start with and end with the script and the story and how you feel about it when you read it. But a lot of what else comes into play is who are you going to work with? You know, that matters so much. And the people who produced that movie were wonderful people. I had known them for many years. We were friends for sure. And so it was a pleasure to work with them. That's one of the examples of a movie where it was such a pleasure to work on. It was fun every day. Where I had mentioned to you earlier, most of the movies are not fun to work on. But when you I love the movie business. I loved it. And I think everybody works in it loves it too. When you're working and you're in the movie business, it is a phenomenal feeling to be a part of a team of people who work so hard, 12, 14, 16 hours a day, every day, 5, 6 days a week. You really bond and all of that stuff. When you are not working and you're looking for your next job, that's when it's miserable because nobody cares. There is no such thing as Hollywood loyalty, none of that. It's all about money, and it's what are you worth today? If Jeff Speakman's right for some guy's movie, but my name isn't worth that much money on the open market, they won't even call me because it's about the money first. So of the 10 movies I've starred in, I produced 3 of them. So I understand how the business works, and I understand that's a part of it. It's an unfortunate part of it, though, but it is what it is. I'm just working with a gentleman who directed 2 of my films. His name is Worth Keeter, and he's actually writing a script for me, for us. We sat down and came up with this idea and interacted back and forth. So when he's done writing the script, we'll see. Maybe there'll be another movie in my future. Maybe not. I don't know.
Possibly action, martial arts.
Yes, 100% on both of those. It'll be a very, very different film. It's called Requiem for a Hitman. So I play the hitman, a very, very dark character who has redemption at the end of the film, of course. But it's not being the hero; it's being the anti-hero. So I think that would be very interesting, and
Definitely.
hopefully other people will think so too.
And another film, final one, Running Red. I found that to be such a fun action film. I'm sure is that what just attracted you to it? It was your
Yes,
bog standard meat and potatoes action film, but it was fun.
yes, and there's the other example of a great. It was the people I was working with, the producers and the directors and the team. It was so wonderful to be with the right people. It really. I'm not sure what other actors, what experiences they have. But when you start with a movie as big as The Perfect Weapon and working for a company like Paramount, can you imagine that's your first movie? I mean, that's nuts, right? That just
Yeah.
never happens. And then they give you things like control of the fight scenes and edit the fights and all. You would never think that's never happened before and probably will never happen again. And and even under those circumstances, because of the people I was working with, it was miserable. So then that's your first experience, right?
Yeah.
Now, what's your next experience and your next one and your next one? And so then finally, when you get to a movie, when you're working with other people who aren't like that, it's such a pleasure. The creative process, everybody sits around a table. What do you think of this, Jeff? How would you say this? What do you think of your character? We're thinking this. What do you think? And you're a part of developing something like that. That's a wonderful feeling. It's exactly what we did in our 5-0 family in our martial art world. Everybody's a part of everything that we're doing. They feel it, they know it. I support them. they support me. It's a wonderful way to go through life. And if there are any people out there who are listening to this who are curious, you can go to my website, jeffspeakman.com. You can look into where there are schools. We have an online academy. So if you want to join and just learn online to get started, you can do that if you wish. But the reason why I would want you to go there is because you're looking for what I just described to you. If you're looking for that, it doesn't matter whether you're Kempo. I've had several Shotokan schools leave Shotokan and join us. And I know it's because of who we are, not because of what we do. And if there are people out there listening, then please go to the jeffspeakman.com website and have a look. And if you are that same kind of energy, then we are your cup of tea.
I have to say as well, Campo does look appealing. I studied Chung De Quan for a while,
Hmm.
and it was brilliant. But um, birth of my son sort of took me away from martial arts a bit. Still practice at the house, but everything just became more hands-on, balancing home life, work life, and then
Yes. Yes,
family.
sir.
And
Yep.
now I've got three kids. Two
Wow.
two are in
Wow.
jiu-jitsu, and
All right.
I've started studying Chung De Quan again, so
Hmm.
we always come back
Good
to it.
for you. Good for you. Yeah. We have our annual event in Europe every November. It's in Étampes, France, just south of Paris. If once again, if you go to not only jeffspeakman.com, but in Europe, we have jeffspeakmaneurope.com .eu. Sorry, and if you want to just come visit us and see what we do, it'll be November 22, 23, 24 that weekend in Étampes. And I have 5 schools in France and a dozen schools all throughout Europe, even in Exeter, England, down south where you are. A really wonderful school there. So we're all over the place. We've got 21 countries. So if you're interested, everyone is welcome.
Also, I never forgot to ask, it was on my question list. I remember ages ago, I want to say ages ago, I mean ages ago, it was on Internet Movie Database. You were meant to be doing some sort of like Expendables-esque film.
Yeah,
There was meant to be two parts to it with like I think it was like
right.
Olivia Brune, Don Wilson. Was that an actual project in the works?
No,
No.
it was a project in conversation, but it never went forward after that. But Olivier Gruner, who you mentioned, there is a very, very good guy who is an outrageously talented martial artist. That's a guy who I thought should have gone much, much bigger as a star. But he's a good friend. So yeah, but those are all good guys. I would love to work with them, but that never went anywhere.
What do you think of the action genre at the moment? Like you've got, for instance, you've got your big movies like, John Wick, which is huge. But then you've got like your lower budget movies still, as we had in the 80s. But like everything now is very constricted. It's sort of like a movie to be shot in a week or two.
Yes.
Like, what's your take on that sort of aspect of the industry now?
It's a radical, as it is in everything in life, but it is a radically different environment now. Technology has moved the movie business. Streaming has changed everything. And as you pointed out, they're doing movies in 2 weeks that used to be 8 weeks,
Yeah.
And part of that is because the technology has made it so much easier. You can edit a full movie in your bedroom, so you don't need an editing bay anymore. Everything is shot on digital. So it's a different world, which will be challenging for us once the script is ready to make its rounds out there. The one I told you about that we're doing, Requiem. Um, um, so there will be a lot of adapting to the new way things are. But this is one of the axioms of our group, of our martial art group, which is embrace change to create the future, or it will create you. So whether you like it or not, it's going to happen. So you might as well get on the right side of it and try to get something good out of it instead of just sitting back and complaining all the time, which there's a lot of that going on in my country these days.
And finally, grand finale.
Yes.
And it's probably such a letdown of a question, but I've got to know, how many times have you been pitched a perfect weapon, the perfect weapon too?
Wow. Um, the people who spoke to me about that, there would be at least half a dozen times, 6, 8 times, different groups. None of them were the people who could get that done.
Yeah,
So Paramount never came back to me because really, the people who were in charge of production, the president of production, the president of whatever division, they're not there anymore. And the problem with that is if you go back and do something that was a success of the person before you, then that person gets the credit for it,
yeah.
which is why they're not going to do it. So, so the people who could get that done are not going to do it because it's on the wrong side of the equation.
Well, I honestly thought it would have been so much more. I thought you would have been like every other month, I'm getting a script thrown at me.
Yeah, right. Back then, I did get a lot more projects coming at me, obviously for obvious reasons, because my name was worth money then. Um, but the life that I live now is beyond phenomenal. I'm so happy. I'm content. I live a wonderful life. I travel all over the world, get to see my 50 family all the time. And then every year, every July, we have everybody come from around the world here to Las Vegas, where I live, and we put on the biggest black belt test, the biggest tournament, all the seminars. It's a wonderful weekend of all these friends coming back together. It's it's every July. In fact, it's on jeffspeakman.com. If anybody wants to go look, everybody's welcome. But you're looking at and talking to a very happy person. I'm happy to still be alive and to be doing the stuff I love and to be surrounded by the people I love.
And on that positive note, that's us.
That's it. Great.
Thank you so much for your time, Jeff. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and I really want to take a minute and thank you for reaching out to me. I mean, we're halfway around the world from one another, and it just doesn't matter, does it?
Definitely
So
not.
it's really great, and I appreciate very much the opportunity to meet you and share some of these things with you and your fans.
Likewise with yourself. You're a legend in my eyes, and I'm just glad to have you on.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank
Give a
you.
call back whenever you're ready. I'm ready.
Don't tempt me.
Yeah. Right. All right. All the best then.
You too. Thank you.
Right. Righto. Bye bye.